we are in an extremely rural market. I mean, any one of the 6 communities that we serve are a considerable distance from a metropolitan area. And there's a lot of farmland from one zip code to the next.
Mm.
So with that, there always kind of tends to be a little bit of a lag in adoption for certain, new technologies and new practices and things like that. And that has certainly shortened in recent years. But being able to take those next steps, we see where we need to go. For instance, video conferencing, video appointments with our customers, things like that. We're ready in a sense. Are the customers ready? Are the staff ready? How do we get all of the pieces in place and make it efficient and make it a positive experience? And I think it's that mindset, like you mentioned. Problems are just a puzzle. To me, it's just kind of, how do we piece things together and find a workable solution? And it may not look the way we thought it would look when we started, and that's okay. And so we're kind of in the midst of a little bit of that right now on a couple of different projects.
That makes me think about a couple of other rural financial brands that I've worked with and have coached and advised over the years. It's almost a two-pronged approach. We have this external experience, customer experience, prospective account holder experience, and their adoption or maybe slow adoption of technology, which in one particular case, I thought it was very interesting working with. And this was back in maybe 2016, 2017. So the world was even more different than what it was now. That, you had this next generation of farmers who are out on their combines that are pretty much just, making sure that they stay on the path, that the combine's doing most of the work. So what are they doing? They're on their iPad, they're on their phone, and they're doing, kind of multitasking, which I just found very fascinating to think about that type of behavior. And then you also have what you touched on here, which I'm very happy that you did, this internal perspective, this EX, this employee experience. Because if we were having this conversation 5, 6, 7 years ago, the recommendation would have been, let's just go to market, let's test some things out, let's figure it out. But then through this experience over the last 5, 6, 7 years, even more specifically since 2020, it's been, let's take an inside out approach instead. Meaning let's get some alignment, let's get some buy-in from the internal team first and foremost, because what I've experienced is by doing the outside in approach, yes, it works. Yes, it creates value externally for account holders and prospective account holders. But what happens is it actually ends up creating friction internally for our team, for our employees, which will then go on to impact the external experience. So it's a bit of a paradox of sorts. Let's dive into the internal side here, because I see that if we fail to address that employee perspective, then the future state may not necessarily be positive. When it comes to the word, and we'll just say digital growth, quote unquote, how would you define this in just your own words? There's nothing right, there's nothing wrong. I just want a definition as it stands today for you right now.
Defining digital growth?
Yep.
I would say it's that balance between taking those next steps into the technologies that we need and how efficiently we're able to engage all parties.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, that's the thing. I mean, with what I do with marketing, I can put a lot of ads out.
Yep.
Pick your, but I'm not going to keep my job if I don't have an ROI.
Exactly.
Well, that intangible return on these kinds of things is that engagement level. And then of course that turns into a tangible ROI.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what it is for me.
So, and once again, there's not a right, there's not a wrong. Now, this is the interesting exercise that I'm going to recommend you and others who are watching or listening go and do. Write down the definition of digital growth in your own words, based upon your own perspective, your own experience. Now, go ask 5, 10 other leaders within the organization to go and give them their definition, give you their definition of what digital growth is. I'm willing to bet you're probably going to get 9, 10 different definitions.
Absolutely.
And most likely, particularly, you're coming at this through the lens of marketing and of growth. So you have a particular bias, if you will, towards growth.
Sure.
If we were to go into other areas of the bank, they're going to have a different perspective. And I'm willing to bet it's most likely from a service perspective. When you say digital growth, they're going to be thinking online banking, mobile banking, the service side of the digital experience, if you will. And that in and of itself really begins to create some conflict and tension because you're thinking acquisition, growth, engagement. They're thinking retention service delivery model over here. And once again, one is not right, one is not wrong, but that's where we do see the tension is rooted in. Now, I'm going to paraphrase from page 9 of Banking on Digital Growth. I opened up the book with terminology of defining digital growth, and it is a well-defined system and process that is centered around the modern consumer journey, uniting marketing, sales, service, leadership, operations, IT to do three key things, three key activities that we can measure against. Number one is increasing website traffic. Number two is now generating leads off of that website that can be nurtured through automation and through content. And then number three is converting and closing those leads for more loans and for a lot of financial brands right now in the market, more deposits. If you think about that, increase traffic, generate leads, get more loans and deposits, level up loans and deposits. Where is the gap, perhaps the knowledge gap to begin with internally with others within the organization? And this is an important question to consider here because we're getting into operations a bit.
Yeah. In my opinion, not only in our organization, but predominantly throughout banking, I really think that understanding that first piece and how to get there, because you and I might agree to disagree on this part of it, but at least for our market specifically, website traffic isn't really what we're looking for. What we're looking for is that traffic on other channels, which, and maybe, maybe we could expand that website definition and find some agreement there, but we're utilizing display on demand ads. We're utilizing our social media pretty extensively. And that's where we want to see that engagement. We aren't trying to channel to our website because what we found with our customer base, our existing customer base, was that really wasn't where they wanted to spend their time anyway. We revamped our website considerably at the beginning of 22, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very streamlined and intuitive, but it's very basic. We found that our customer base simply wanted a person. They were not and now that may be through a digital channel, that might be through a web video chat or an online chat or something like that, but they wanted a person, and they weren't spending a lot of time on our website regardless. That's not a place that they wanted to be. So they wanted to be in our social media feeds. We've seen very, very significant success with our display ads and things like that. And so getting them to a shorter sales funnel essentially has been successful for us. And so that's something that I think is, I don't know if that would translate to every market. So I'll put that asterisk on it. But that's definitely a piece that I think our upper management and our leadership within the organization, and even some of our middle management, are starting to see, hey, that customer behavior is where we need to go, where we need to be.
So There's no disagreement here at all. In fact, there's 100% alignment of thinking. And what I mean by that is from the last 21 years of doing this, what we have experienced is that the number one most influential source channel, quote unquote, if you will, in a consumer's buying journey is connecting with another human being, regardless of if that human being is in the branch, over the phone, through chat, through video now. Reducing the speed to a human connection increases the propensity for conversion. Once again, regardless of if that conversion is in the branch, over the phone, online, etc. So when you're talking about now looking increase website traffic, the thinking is sound, because how are we going to increase that website traffic? Third party channels, social media, leveraging the personal brands of bankers within the local communities to connect with other people through their social channels. Like, say they're out on a combine. What are they doing? I don't know. We don't not that deep, but maybe they're TikToking. Maybe they're only. I just don't know. But how do we build that center of influence for lenders and for leaders through those digital channels to make those human connections? Now, I will push back a little bit on the website piece of this. And this comes back to the philosophy of increased website traffic. How we do that is going to be very specific to the market. Once people get to the website, though, what is the website designed to do? Is it designed to just get a loan app or a deposit account? And if it is, what we're seeing is financial brands are literally losing millions in loans and deposits because there's something middle of the funnel. And that's that second step, which is to generate leads. There's different types of leads. So, for example, request a call back, schedule an appointment, having these alternative paths for human connection. You say people don't want to spend a lot of time there, but it would just be interesting if you were to add some additional conversion points on that site. Would the site create that much more value to connect a prospective account holder with a lender, leader, advisor, etc.? So that's more of a question. The other thing too is you say our customers aren't wanting to spend a lot of time on the website. Well, I would agree. 85 to 92% of all traffic that comes to the homepage of a website is there to do one thing, which is log into online banking. That's where things like personalization and using data to personalize that experience can come back to deepen the relationship, even if we're personalizing it with human-centered content. So it sounds like you've got a great start, a good foundation. There are probably opportunities to optimize and take what you're doing, make it even that much better with things like digital lead gen, digital nurturing, that our other teammate, ADA, which is automation, data, and AI, can come in and to facilitate some of these relationships. But a lot of that is going to be really dependent upon the perspective of other team members within the organization, because they're going to have to play a role in this experience. Now, this comes back to the definition of digital growth: well-defined systems and processes centered around a modern consumer journey that unites marketing, sales, ops, leadership, IT, etc. So without the clarity from them of like, how do we systematically bring traffic in to increase relationship through ads, through social, to generate leads, to nurture those leads, to then convert those leads, that knowledge gap I often find is an impediment, because there have been financial brands who have gone to the outside that have deployed some of these systems, some of this thinking, but then they don't have the internal resources to then make those human connections, because they're thinking from a branch first or a branch first growth mentality.